866-87-RANDY. That's 1-866-877-2634. Now, back to Randy Rhodes.
Inequality is what has turned Washington into a protection racket for the 1%. It buys all those goodies from government, tax breaks, tax havens, allowing corporations and the rich to park their money in a no-tax zone, loopholes, favors like carried interest, and on and on and on. Listen, there's a big study coming out in the fall from Martin Gillens at Princeton and Benjamin Page at Northwestern, based on data collected between 1981 and 2002. Their conclusion, quote, America's claims to being a democratic society are seriously threatened. The preferences of the average American appear to have only a minuscule, near zero, statistically non-significant impact upon public policy. Sad that it's come to this. The drift toward oligarchy that Thomas Piketty describes in his formidable book has become a mad dash, and it will overrun us and overwhelm us unless we stop it.
I mean, I don't know how many people can explain this to you anymore. I really don't know how many people can lay it out there. I mean, there's study after study after study after study. The Princeton Northwestern oligarchy study, it did come out. That was a year ago. That was PBS. That was Bill Moyers telling you that they were doing the study, and it would likely show that we were an oligarchy, and the study did come out, and we read it to you this week, and the study says that the American people have a near zero effect or input on into the policy that our government adopts. We've seen it, you know, in every stat. We've seen it in every number. You know, again, when you say 85% of the American people want background checks to keep guns out of the hands of mentally ill people, nothing happens. When you see studies that say 85% of the American people want immigration reform, nothing happens. When you see 85% of the American people want an increase in the minimum wage, nothing happens. When you see 85% of the American people are for extending unemployment benefits and then they get canceled. When you see that there's a plurality of people who are for food stamps. There is a plurality of people who think that higher education ought to be free or subsidized. When you see, a huge chunk, a plurality of the American people that say that we ought to make an infrastructure investment, or that we ought to have a second stimulus, or that we ought to expand Medicaid, or that whatever it is, nothing gets, because your voice is not being heard. Whose voice is being heard? The propagandists, the multinationals, the conservative circle of scam. I call it a giant circle jerk because it is a racket. They pay each other. They all get rich, and the only people that don't are the people that give to these organizations, that give to the Tea Party Patriots, that give to the Heritage Foundation, that give to Americans for Prosperity. Those are the people that are literally being fleeced. Those are the people that actually see nothing of any benefit coming to them, but the people who run it, the people who pay for the advertising, the people who rent out the office space, the people who sell those email lists, they're all making a fortune on the propaganda itself, never mind the effect that the propaganda has on someone who actually votes. But the amount of money that's being made doing the propaganda is extraordinary. It's just extraordinary. It's a very sick situation we're in. It is completely undoable. I mean, it's the idea that you could, reverse it is totally doable. It is totally doable. But the only day that you have an enormous amount of power, more than any corporation, truly, is the day you cast a ballot. It's the day. That's the one day. You get it every 2 years, and you get to pick a new Congress. Problem is, you sat it out last time. This pissed me off no end, I can't even tell you. But in 2010, it's a year that ends in a zero. That's a census year. That means that's a year that not only do they take the census, but that's the year that they draw the maps. And the they became Republicans because the base showed up. And the base on the other side didn't. Never mind the young people. They didn't show up. They showed up in 2008. They didn't show up in 2010. I guess nobody is educating them to understand that only Congress can make the law. The president can administer the law, enforce the law, execute the law. That's why they call him the executive. And for this, of course, they'll call him, an imperial president for doing his job. But he can't spend money. He can't do a stimulus package. He can't extend unemployment. He can't expand Medicaid. Okay, only the state governors can do that. He can't make Pell Grants more affordable. He can't make education more affordable. He can't reinvest in Head Start. He can't, pass a food stamp expansion or a food stamp, bill. He can't do a farm bill without Congress, and that's where the food stamp, cuts come. He can't put anything. He can put out his budget, but he can't pass his budget. He can't sign his budget. He can't execute his budget. So the young people don't vote. Then you've got the Democrats who whine. Well, he didn't close Gitmo. Congress has to close Gitmo. Back then it was, well, he didn't end Don't Ask, Don't Tell. He did, but he needed to do it in a time frame that made sense for the military. People needed to be prepared, just like Obamacare had to be phased in. And, by the way, some people say, well, he didn't do single payer. I got a little secret for you, and I just pray that conservatives, really marginalize me so much now that they don't pay any attention to what I'm saying. Medicaid is single payer. Medicare is single payer. An expansion of Medicaid would be an expansion of single payer. He didn't do it. Yeah, he did. As much as he could do without the participation of governors. And you people stayed home and let the base elect some crazy right-wing lunatic legislatures and governors who won't expand Medicaid. Single payer. Monica in Napa Valley, California, also a nice spot in the world.
Hi, Randy. It's actually Marita, and I called you about a month ago for the first time, even though I've been listening to you since the Battle of Air America days.
Hi, Marika.
I wanted to say I'm happy for you, and congratulations on making this decision, although I'm very heartsick. And I'm sort of hoping that maybe you're thinking of running for office.
And what would you like me to do? Comment?
Well, you know what? In 2010, after Barack Obama got elected in 2008, and I thought, oh, there is hope. I was so hopeful. It was like such a morning in the news.
And you had every reason to be, and it could have been that way if we would have shown up at 2010.
Well, I ran for
everything could have been.
And I got elected.
Did you? What are you? What did you run for?
I ran for our little city council.
Nice.
And I'm up for re-election again, and I'm running again.
Good girl.
And I really find it very, heartening, and it gives me some positive feelings. But I think you would be so great in government. As much as I love Bill Moyers, and I heard that bit, I love you more because you are such a good fighter, and we need you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm very proud of you. I think you did exactly the right thing. There is no greater thing than public service. And quite frankly, people need more people to run for offices. Local offices are being purchased now too, as I'm sure you're well aware. Everything from the school board to the city councils to the state legislators to it's all up for sale. And the more people that we have standing there on that wall protecting us from the influx of all this big money, the better off we're going to be. Like I said, 2010, if everybody would have shown up, if they just would have taken a few minutes and cast a ballot and given this president a Congress they could work with, given states, governors that were worthy of their sacrifice and service, at work every single day, and the amount of stuff that they do, juggling all these different things that every American does, kids, travel, the whole bit of cooking dinner and working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, we would have been so much further down the road by now.
No, I know. I was thinking, too, though, I remember when I was in 7th and 8th grade, I had civics class. I learned about our government.
Yeah. When I was younger, they called it current events, and you had to know the news. You had to read the newspaper. You had to cut out your favorite news story, and you had to write at least a paragraph about what that news story was about and why it was important. And of course, you had Schoolhouse Rock, and you had to know how the bill became a law. And you learned, Marbury versus Madison, a little constitutional law, and that was all before the end of high school.
That's right. And I think that's why the young people are lethargic, because they haven't been taught.
Yeah, it's true. And, you know, there's a great movie, you know I love it, Network by Patty Chayefsky. And there's a scene where the corporate master, Ned Beatty in this case, tells people one of the ways that they will get their way is to have all people's boredoms amused. Yeah.
This is The Randy Rhoads Show on the Premier Radio Networks.